Whether you're trying to survive a storm, offset your power bill, or just work towards energy independence, your fridge is one of your biggest obstacles. It's always running.
You better go catch it!
Every fridge is slightly different and consumes a slightly different amount of energy, and there's a ton of misconceptions out there on how much power a fridge actually uses, and false sources telling you your fridge uses way more power than it actually does. But if you cut through all of it, the question that everyone wants to know is how many solar panels does it take to power a fridge? So welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. We made a video about a year ago on how much power a fridge actually uses. We tested 3 average fridges in 3 different homes, and over a 24-hour period, they all averaged about 1,300 watt hours of consumption. If you watch that video, we did kind of come up with our own little equation that you can use to figure out how much power your fridge roughly uses. But the best thing you could do is just go and buy one of these little power meters from Amazon. They're super cheap. They show up the next day. Plug your fridge into it and run a 24-hour test. See how much power your fridge uses. Return it when you're done if you don't want to keep it.
Don't do that, dude. You don't take... That's stealing.
No, it's just
That's
Amazon.
Stealing, dude. We don't steal here at the lab.
It's
What
return
the
it. Return it, I said.
No.
Yeah, you buy it on Amazon, you return the meter. It's a power meter.
No. We don't steal, dude.
It's not stealing, it's returning. Return it when you're done if you don't want it. It's a free test.
Oh, it's not. It's not free.
But today, we're going to use the rough number of about 1,300 watt hours in a 24-hour period for how much power a fridge uses. This is actually a pretty easy question to answer. If your fridge uses about 1,300 watt hours per day, you need your solar panels to generate about 1,300 watts per day. The question is more a matter of how many peak sun hours do you have in a day, and how long do you want your fridge to be able to run without sun available. So basically, you can Google the average peak sun hours where you live. I would always go with the smaller number. When we Google it, it says 3.5 to 5, so we just go with the 3.5 to be safe. Peak sun hours is when the sun is at its highest point in the sky and generates the most amount of power with solar panels. Early mornings and late nights when the sun is kind of lower in the sky and it's not hitting your panels at the perfect angle, those are off-peak sun hours. So they still generate power, but they don't generate the maximum amount that you could be getting. So once you Google it and get the average number for your area, in our case, it's 3.5 hours. All you have left to do is determine how long do you want your fridge to last if you don't have sun. If you live somewhere with reliable sunshine, you may only need a 2-day buffer. If you live somewhere like we do, in the winter, sometimes you can go almost a week without seeing the sun at all. So pick the number of days that you want your fridge to last without sun. If you, on average, see like 3 days in a row with no sun, roll with that. That's what we're gonna do for this example. We'll just go with 3 days. And it'll look like this. If you need 1,300 watt hours per day, and you want it to last a total of 3 days without sun, and you get about 3.5 peak hours of sun per day, you should aim to be able to generate about 3,900 watts in 3.5 hours. That's enough for 3 days worth of runway in just that small window of sun. So if you get 1 good day of sun every 3 days, in this situation, you'll be able to keep your fridge running. If you take that 3,900 and you divide it by the 3.5 hours of sun you're getting, well, you get 1,114. We're gonna round up, call it 1,200. So you need a 1,200 watt solar array. Now, when it comes to picking panels, you could do whatever you want. You could have 3 400 watt panels, or you could have 12 100 watt panels. That makes no difference at all. The point is, you need to generate about 1,200 watts per hour during those 3.5 peak hours, and you'll have enough power to last you 3 days. And you can do this with any time frame and any amount of sun hours. For example, if you had 5 peak sun hours and only needed about 1 day of backup because you live in the desert and it's super sunny all the time, and you can rely on that sun being out almost every single day, your numbers would look a little different. You'd need about 2,600 watt hours to get you through 2 days, but the 2,600 divided by 5, which is a lot more peak sun hours, would allow you to have a much smaller solar array. You'd only need a solar array of about 520 watts. Even if you round that up to 600 watts to be safe, that's a very small solar array because you have a ton of time in the peak sun hours to generate power. So that's pretty simple to find out. It's a quick Google search and then a tiny little bit of math, and you pretty much have your number. The tricky part is making a decision on where to put that power. You can go the traditional route and get an inverter and some batteries, or you could go with something simple like a power station, which has a built-in batteries and inverter. Either way, you'll need to make sure that the inverter is rated for the fridge's maximum power. Fridges don't use a ton of power. Most fridges are rated for like 300 to 600 watts. They won't normally use that much, but when they're doing defrost cycles or if they're cooling down initially, they can use quite a bit of power. It's pretty easy to find something that has a 300 to 600 watt inverter. So all the inverter has to do is be bigger than the number that your fridge says it's rated for. Most importantly, you'll need a battery big enough to store the power that you want to keep to get you through those days without sun. So in the first example, you want 3 days of backup. So your 1300 watt hours per day times 3 was about 3900. We would recommend a battery of at least 4500 to 5000 watt hours. This gives you a buffer for idle consumption, whether you go the traditional route or you get a power station when that device is on and running, even if your fridge isn't using power at that time. Just having the inverter on is going to consume a little bit of power. The longer it runs for, the more power it's going to consume out of your battery. So always going a little bit bigger on the battery side is safer to make sure that you don't use up all your power just having your device on. Plus, it might give you a little bit of extra room to use some other appliances during this time. And you don't have to worry about filling that extra couple hundred watts difference. We recommended a solar array that would get your 3900 watts. So having the extra battery capacity will make sure that you have enough power to get you through that time and you don't have to worry about the idle consumption. You also don't have to worry about generating that extra little bit of power because your solar array will already do this during the off-peak hours. Even if your 1200 watt array only generates 300 watts in the early morning or in the late night, you only need a couple hours of really low generation to fill that extra battery capacity. So that's it. It's actually pretty easy. We will leave some links to some resources down below. We'll leave the how much power does a fridge use video, as well as how to pick the right power station or solar gear so you guys could kind of get a better understanding if you're still trying to learn. We also have a power station quiz. If you just want to do it really quickly, you put in your needs and it spits out a power station that we actually recommend for you guys. So check out all that stuff in the description below. Otherwise, that's all we got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out and stay charged.